Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the 2013 EB Games Expo that we went to, that you've probably seen the footage for, and I've lost the introduction. Josh, you go ahead. Continue from there.
Okay, so basically we're going to talk about our overall impressions of the Expo, what it was like being there, what the people were like, and that sort of thing, the atmosphere, just all that sort of general stuff about the Expo, not talking about any specific games or systems or anything like that.
Just yet.
No, not just yet. But, yeah, so the Expo itself was pretty great in my opinion. It was very large, I found.
It was in the same place as it was last year, but they made more use of the space, far better use of the space.
Yes. I think there were a lot more, big booths set up, so, on the PlayStation booth you had the spinning symbol up the top, and you had the tank in front of Battlefield 4, and the giant mech in front of Titanfall, and stuff like that.
And they even had a pirate ship ride somehow.
Yes, they even did have an Assassin's Creed 4 pirate ship ride outside, although we never actually saw it.
I never saw it, no, I was looking for it. Something you wouldn't think you'd be able to miss, but...
I was really impressed when we didn't see it.
Maybe it's invisible to people who didn't pre-order at the Expo.
Perhaps so, because apparently if you pre-ordered Assassin's Creed 4, you got a free ride on the pirate ship. Which, great pre-order bonus there.
It's better than some I've seen. But walking into the Expo was sort of reminiscent of last year, but it was... you get a sense of the size of it, even on the outside, the number of people walking in. But I think this year they got things moving a lot faster. We were there 10 minutes after it started, thereabouts?
Probably about 20 by the time we got through registration and all that.
True. We had to get our media passes, but people were inside and having fun. Last year we had to wait outside for a good 5 minutes as the lines pushed through. This year was a lot more efficient, more organised. And as walking in, it just looked better. There were banners everywhere and...
It was much better set up this year, I thought. Everywhere had a very clearly defined area, and we knew where to find everything, pretty much. Or everything that was there, I should say.
Well, that was helped, I think, by the fact that all three big players were there this year, sort of, en masse. Like, Nintendo last year was the key feature.
Yes.
They were the only ones that had a console announced. So
Microsoft were barely there last year.
Barely at all. They had a wall, a green wall. This year they had, both PlayStation and Microsoft had a downstairs and upstairs booth area that was very dominant. PlayStation had a rotating PlayStation symbol on their roof, and Microsoft was just very green.
Microsoft was very green indeed, and it had banners everywhere, and it had the giant TV screen with Killer Instinct going on it.
Oh, yes.
So, it had the features of its own, but I think the other thing that was very nice about Microsoft's booth was that it was very bright.
Yeah.
And this is something I've actually been thinking about, is that Sony's booth was actually really enclosed, there were lots of walls, and it was really dark. Whereas Microsoft's was quite open, and it had a lot of bright lights around it.
Yeah, lots of bright lights, and just people that you could talk to. Hard to tell because by their green badge thing if they were Microsoft employees. Sony, yes. They had the uniforms, but I saw a lot more Microsoft people around than I did Sony.
Well, Sony, and I would also say the same for Nintendo. There weren't really any Nintendo reps around. There were just EB Games staff for that one.
This is true.
Which I found quite surprising, to be honest.
Very, very surprising. I was actually surprised that they were EB Games staff that were there, because last year they hired people just employed for the event. This year they actually took staff members to do the shifts.
Yes, that was an interesting change. I didn't really think about that at the time, but thinking about last year's Expo, there were a lot more people who were hired by specific publishers to actually be there.
Well, it was good because you could actually wait in line for the hours. You could talk to the staff members and just have chats. Whereas
Agreed. I mean, I've got to say, everyone that was working there was really quite nice.
Except for the PR departments, which we're not going into yet.
One PR department. Yes, we had a bit of unpleasantness at the Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z booth, which is also the reason why we didn't actually get to play Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, because that was actually part of the same booth. Yes, the PR guy there, he couldn't really decide whether he wanted us actually filming or not. And basically he decided to let us film, then kicked us out a minute later.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit awkward there. But anyway.
So my impressions of that game were wonderful after a minute, but
yes,
not much after that.
Well, on the bright side, you just got to play the game because you had headphones on. So I just had to talk to the guy while filming. So that didn't actually colour your opinion of the game, at least.
Very true. Okay, so back to the actual event.
Back to the expo, yes.
Well, I'll say that I felt this year that the you could sort of tell what was for gaming and what was more social. Last year was sort of a menagerie of stuff, like the the store was pretty damn close to the Nintendo booth.
Yes.
And this year, it's like you walk right and there's nothing but games.
Well, it was very well cleverly segmented, because you had basically the main show floor, the exhibition part, with all the different publishers, and then to your left you had the community hub, and that had all the shops, that had all the like the retro gaming garden, the cosplay competition, and it also had places for people to sit down and just kind of relax for a bit.
Oh,
so that was much better. That was a much better setup, I think.
Yep.
Much more clearly defined.
Yeah, and basically, well, pretty much just that.
Okay, so compared to last year then, what did you think? Was it better? Was it worse?
No, it was much better. Better use of space. It was more games there, which is obvious as the years go by. It'll get more games, but I think that it was just more atmospheric and more expo-y, because there were so many different sections that they were there last year, like the retro gaming garden and just the gaming hub in general.
Community hub was definitely much improved from last year. It was pretty tiny last year.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of a retro gaming garden, that was kind of neat. It was just a small little area with a whole bunch of pretty crazy systems all lined up. You had stuff that I definitely wasn't expecting to see. I was just expecting Super Nintendo, N64, Dreamcast, Mega Drive, stuff like the more traditional stuff. But they had Apple computers. They had a Gauntlet 2 arcade machine. They had an Atari Jaguar, my friend.
Yes, which you can dial home with, apparently. Is that what ET used?
Well, actually, the ET game was on Atari 2600.
Jesus, I thought I could get away with it, but no, not with your fan base.
Well, it's still Atari, so it's close enough, but let's get your in-depth impressions. What was the Atari Jaguar like? Because it's a rare treat to be able to play one of those.
I felt like I was playing a flight sim without the flight or the sim part. I think the controls were probably ill-suited for it, but you know what? It was different. It was still probably better than Modern Warfare 3, so...
Well, no one can take away from a Jaguar the fact that it was different.
Well, it's a testament to the success of the Atari brand that they are continuing to be a reputable company today. That's what their consoles have brought us. Continued existence of Atari.
Well, the Jaguar was the last Atari console, to my knowledge at least, anyway.
Ah, was it?
Yeah, that was when they got out of the business, from what I understand.
Fair enough. This is probably not a discussion for the Atari.
No. Anyway, it was a very nicely set up little area, and just directly off that, they had the cosplay competition, which drew quite a huge crowd, actually. It was just a sea of people. We could, it was really hard to even film anything through it. There was a ton of people, but there were a lot of great costumes there, a lot of great cosplayers. Well, we saw, we saw Gumby. We saw Elmo, we saw Spider-Man 2099, we saw a lot of Assassins.
Always a lot of Assassins. We saw some Frank Wests.
Yes, yep. Did Frank West win the contest?
I don't think he won the contest, he was just on stage when we happened to be there.
Right, okay.
If he won the contest, I'd be disappointed. I mean, it was a good cosplay, but it's not exactly the hardest thing to cosplay.
No, agree. Well, actually, you got that great picture with the Assassin's Creed 4 cosplayer.
I did. Well, I think he was more hired by Ubisoft, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Because I asked him if he'd made
that's true.
Costume himself, and it seems weird for a cosplayer to buy an Edward Kenway costume.
Well, it was quite an impressive costume just to buy outright.
Yeah, very.
Okay, well then, so basically Expo 2013, are you excited for Expo 2014 if it's anything like this?
Well, if it's anything like this, then yes, but I'm more interested to see what it's going to be like, knowing that by that time the three major players will have their consoles up. We saw from last year that when Nintendo was showing off their console, they had the hands down biggest booth. This year their booth was less than half the size.
Yes, definitely. Well, I mean, it was half of the area was just a lineup for Pokemon.
Yeah. So I wonder what it will be like next year when the consoles are out, and now they'll be showing off the games alone.
You don't have something brand new coming out. In the case of Sony and Microsoft, you've just got to focus entirely on games. So yeah, you're right. It will be very interesting to see what they put out next year.
Yes, but I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think EB Expo 2013 was a huge improvement over EB Expo 2012, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they continue to up the ante from here. So I will talk to you guys in our next discussion. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you later.
Toodaloo.